Yeah. Can you please just briefly introduce yourself more specifically into the project or the work you have done as a data engineer or a big data developer?
Mm-hmm. So, starting from my career, I got a AI project. I got a chance to work in computer vision and Python. So they are we are pre-processing the data and we are marking the each pixel. We are working on the pixel level, semantic segmentation or region-based CNN. So these kind of work I have done. After that, that work was most of the thing was manual intervention. So that was the note suited me. So that time I explored the Spark. Then after that I joined the big data project. So there in a starting phase I worked on Hive and Hive, and mainly we are using the transformation using Hive, and we are summarizing the data in HDFS only. So that was the ETL job. After that, I moved to a Spark-based project. So they are they were reading the different tables from the SQL, some tables from the SQL server, and some tables from the HDFS. There is two things. One is calculation, and one is the staging, and one is calculation. So in a staging, we are reading the table, we are reading the file from the HDFS, and along with that, we are reading the table which is on the MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server. So and on that, after joining, we are doing some processing and putting into the HDFS. And in calculation part, we are picking those tables and file, and we are summarizing into MS SQL Server. So these kind of work right now we are doing in using a Spark.
Okay. What are all the data sources that you have used? So
in my current project, we are using most of the file is that file means 5 separated file. Along with that, I have used Parquet and Avro also.
Okay. What? How different is Parquet from Avro, and which one would you choose and over the other? So which one is better, you think?
Yeah, so it's depend upon the requirement. So if we are doing the transformation on row level, so in that case we used to prefer Avro, and if we are doing processing on the column level, so in that case Parquet or ORC is preferred. So and along with that, if we are doing processing using a Spark, so Parquet is preferable, because in Parquet file they store the data in the form of binary. Along with that, they are stored in the form of iterative. So once it's load the data, that is very efficient to process on the Parquet side.
When you said row level operations and column level operations for Parquet, or row level transformations for Avro, so why so? Why is that the case?
In case of column level, they store the single column in a single index, so that we can get rid of scanning all the tables or all the files.
Similarly for Avro, what is the case?
Yeah, Avro is it's a store row wise. If we are processing, if we want the processing on the each row, then Avro is suited. If we want all the column in a row or all the column in a file, then Avro is preferable.
Okay, so if you have some, let us say you have a data, let us say in text file or a CSV file, it takes 1 MB. So if you are converting that data, writing that data into Parquet file and Avro file, which file would be of greater size and why?
I'm not sure. I think both support the compression, serialization, both support. So in a Spark, using a Spark, the Avro, Parquet would be faster.
When you are trying to write a Spark data frame into a Parquet file, right? So
okay.
How many files would it output based on the data size? How many files would a Parquet format would output?
Like it depends upon the number of partition. Like while creating, like how many partition got created. So on the basis of that, if we write the same data, it will like split into those partition and write like that.
Okay, so if you want to have only one file, how will you do that as an output?
Yeah, so in that case, we will prefer like repartition is also option, but we would like we would prefer coalesce in that case.
Can you tell why do you prefer coalesce over repartitioning?
Yeah, so like repartition is used like if we are doing the like we are increasing the data, like sorry, we are increasing the number of partition, and in case of coalesce we only can decrease the decrease the number of partition, but repartition do the both, like increase or decrease. But if you see the like design of the both, like repartition will do the full shuffle, like it's try to make the all the partition would be like equal size, but there is nothing like in coalesce. Coalesce will first it will try to delete the empty partition, after that it will transfer the remaining partition into some other partition. So coalesce would like coalesce would be like best suited for reducing the number of partitions. So it is not doing the whole shuffle. It's only like do the shuffle which is required to reduce the amount of partition.
Okay, so when you write a file to HDFS, so what happens if the file size is greater than the block size?
Yeah, so if the file size is greater than block size, so file size is greater than block size, yeah, it will create the two partition.
I mean, we are not talking about Spark in general. So in any case, like through MapReduce or any way, if you are writing into a file into HDFS, and the file size is greater than the block size, whatever the default block size that is set in the cluster. So what happens in that case?
Yeah, like it will store into two blocks.
Only two blocks?
No, it's depend upon the like it would be multiple of the size of the block size. So it's depend upon the file size, like how it is. So first it will create a multiple of the block size.
Okay, so when you said you use coalesce to decrease the number of partitions and write it into HDFS, right? So you have made the decrease the number of partitions to 1 and written that into HDFS. So in that case, the block size, the file size is greater than the block size. So in that case, would the file be split into multiple parts or?
Yeah, so actually, like what we are saying, I think that is the logical representation, like how many, but yeah, it would store in the like different block size, but we will using single metadata, we can access all the block size like that. I don't know.
No. The question is only about the number of files that would be written to HDFS.
Sorry, come again. Actually, your voice is very low, so I'm guessing the things.
The question is, what are the number of files that will be present in the HDFS after using coalesce to increase the number of partitions to 1 and writing the data frame to HDFS? So what are the number of files that will be written? Is it only 1, or it will be will it depend on the file size, and would the data be split into multiple files? So what are the number of files? That is the question.
So number of files will be written only 1, but are stored in the form of like number of partition, like in the like multiple of blocks.
Okay, so when you said metadata, like where is the metadata stored in a Hadoop cluster?
Yeah, in a Hadoop cluster, metadata information like name nodes keep track of those things, like in a memory of name nodes.
Why doesn't it store in data node? Why not in data node?
Yeah. So like a Spark like design in such a way that like one is the master daemon and another is the like slave daemon. So the like that would be like very yeah, like any client wanted to do the process, it's first like contact with the name node. So name node search those information like we have really this file and where it is this file, like where is the exactly this file. So those information is like if we are store in the data node, so that will store in like in disk or in like another storage. But name node is like made only to store the like metadata so that it can store in a RAM or memory.
So I mean, why can't the metadata be stored in HDFS?
So the coordination among the nodes would be like a bit tougher. Like if someone wanted to read the file, so it will search all the data nodes where is the actual file. But in a like single attempt, he can get to know, okay, here is the location. He contact through the name node.
Okay. Do you have any idea on erasure coding?
Sorry?
Erasure coding.
No, I don't have any idea.
Vectorization?
Yeah, in Hive, like, Hive it support vectorization.
Yeah, what is it about? What is vectorization and why is it top?
Yeah, so actually, so Hive support vectorization, like it's stored the like on the basis of column in the form of like vector or array. So if we wanted to do the processing on the column level, like if we are doing the like max or we are finding the average of any column, so in that case the vectorization is like efficient. And if we are using the ORC file format, so it support only with the ORC file format.
But what is vectorization? Can you define it?
So vectorization is like it storing all the one column information in a hash table, so that you can access in a like in optimal time or in optimal or efficient manner.
Okay, you are saying vectorization is columnar storage.
Yeah. So it's kind of array, or you can say the type of vector where the like where we can iterate the data of that column.
So you have experience in Python?
Yeah, Python I have, in Spark also. Like in Hive right now, like I'm not working on Hive. Like in last project I worked on Hive, so like I'm not in touch with most of the thing in Hive. But yeah, Spark right now, like I'm working on Spark and Python.
Okay. Does Hive support multi-line comments?
Sorry, does Hive support
multi-line comments?
There is one option in like while creating the table, there is option to like in set properties there we can do the multi-line comment.
I mean commenting a line of code.
Okay. So multi-line I have not used, like single line I have used in like.
Okay. What is the difference between a list and a tuple?
So yeah, both are like iteratable in Python, but list is like mutable and tuple is immutable. So once we can assign the value in a tuple, we can't update or like delete the value.
Okay. So decorators in Python?
Yeah, decorator I know. So
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so decorator is nothing but like if we are using some function or some like built-in defined parameter. So if we wanted to change the functionality of that function like along with the new functionality, so in that case we use decorator.
Okay, so let us say you want to bring some numbers from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So what happens when you use a for loop and the same condition you have used, I less than or equal to 10 or I less than or equal to 5, what happens in for loop and what happens in while loop? So can you explain?
Yeah. So in while loop, suppose we wanted to print from 1 to 5. So suppose limit is 5. So the increment value would be increment by 1. Like it will go till 6. The for loop go till 6, but after that it will check the condition. Okay, this 6 is less than 5. And in while loop, we can go only till 1 to 5.
You said you are using a Hive and Spark in your project, right?
Yeah.
So can you please explain what is Spark driver?
Spark driver is the master daemon which coordinate the executor, or it is responsible for like coordinating the to like any cluster manager.
So who will take care of Spark cluster resources, and who can assign when we submit any program or application? Who can arrange
Yeah.
all these resources to the program?
Yeah. So if we like submit any application, so a Spark driver will request to cluster manager. Like if we are running in yarn mode, so it will request the cluster manager for the resources. Then cluster manager will like create the executor, or launch the executor on the different nodes, and then again node will register back to the Spark driver. So now after once the system has been established, now there is no role of like cluster manager if there is no other like future requirement like extra allocation. So now directly the executor will transfer the executed code to driver.
What are the types of cluster managers?
Yeah. So Spark support like different cluster manager like Yarn, Mesos, or it's having its own like a standalone. Along with it support local.
Okay. What is container in Spark?
In a Spark, cluster manager launch the executor in Hadoop container only. So that container is nothing but the Yarn container contain.
How can you define a container?
Yeah, container is nothing but with having their own size of memory, CPU, and core.
What is the lineage in Spark?
Yeah, so lineage is nothing but the logical view of the RDD or data frame. So if we are doing a transformation, so internally it creates the lineage, and based upon that it execute. So like if we lost any partition, so on the basis of lineage we try to recover those partitions.
Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between lineage and DAG?
So DAG is like inside you can say the physical layout, like how how the job will like start and what stages we need to create. So DAG is nothing but once the like lineage has been created, after that it create the DAG. So DAG is nothing but is take the decision like which step I need to execute, or which step I need to like skip, or in what sequence I need to execute. So if we are doing the filter after join, so it will try to do the filter before join. So this condition like optimization and all those things will take care of the DAG.
In your project, have you created a Spark session or Spark context? Which one you have created?
We used to create a Spark session.
What is the difference between Spark session and Spark context?
Session is like session based, like Hive session we used to create, but a Spark context is nothing but like not able to recall.
Okay, no issue. What are the types of methods to create an RDD?
Yeah, so if we are like reading any file, so directly it is storing in the form of RDD or data frame. And if we are like initializing any variable, if you wanted to change into RDD, so in that case we used to call the parallelize method. So there is two way, to create the RDD or data frame.
Can we create a RDD from data frame?
Yeah, we can create using two data frame option.
No, my question is, can we able to create a RDD from data frame?
Yeah, we can create dot to data to RDD. Yeah, there is API.
Mm-hmm. So have you done that in your project or in your experience?
No, in my project I have done the from RDD to data frame, but that data frame to RDD I have not done.
Mm-hmm. So when you create a application or a program to run on cluster, so how
Yeah.
can you submit that program on cluster and especially on Spark?
Yeah, in a Spark, we used to submit using a Spark submit command. So along with that, we need to pass. If we are running through a Scala, we need to file. We need to like submit the jar file. If we are running through the Python, then we directly submit the Python file. Along with that, we can pass the different parameter like the submit mode and number of executor, total number of core, and along with that we can pass the different configuration also.
Mm-hmm. So how can you decide, driver or executor memory?
So it's depend upon the cluster configuration as well as the like requirement of the file size. So first, in this case, it depend upon the whatever like available memory we have. So on that basis, we used to define.
Okay, let us say you are writing some word count program, okay, and you need word count out of one bunch of files or data, okay. So our raw data is almost 10 GB, okay. On the 10 GB, I want on the 10 GB of data, I want total word count. So by using Spark, so how can you submit along with the parameters?
So 10 GB, if we have like 10 GB files, and we will calculate the how many partition it would be, like in the multiple of block size. If we are doing processing on HDFS using a Spark, so first we will calculate the number of partition, how it would be. Suppose the number of partition is 100, like 1000 or 1000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So based upon that, the optimal way is number of core. So one core get one partition.
Mm-hmm.
So on that basis we can decide, and after that we will decide the number of executor. So one executor can parallelly execute the five tasks. So if we give more than 5 tasks to one executor, that would be performance decreasing. It will decay the performance of the job. So on that basis we can calculate the number of executor. Then after that we can divide the whatever available memory we have with the number of executors. So per executor we can assign that much memory.
Okay. So as a developer, when we are writing a Spark code, right? So do we require to know about our cluster resources and its configurations?
Yeah, along with the admin team, we can coordinate and that would be good to know those things. But admin team mostly they used to do those things but before designing we should able to know what are the resources we have before developing.
Can Spark work without HDFS or Hadoop?
Sorry?
Can Spark work without HDFS?
Yeah, it will work.
So let us say instead of HDFS, we are working on AWS.
Okay.
Like S3, Amazon S3.
Yeah.
So in that case, what is the partition size in Spark?
So that I don't have idea about, but it would be partition would be some storage levels. So every disk having some block size. So on the basis of that would be the partition would be created.
Okay. So what is the block size in HDFS2?
In HDFS, it is
It is
128.
okay. So if my file size is 128 MB, then block size is 1, right? I mean, one block
Yeah,
will be created.
yeah, one block.
So in other words, we can say if you are working along with the Spark, then it will create one partition, right?
Yeah,
So, so my question is, when we are working instead of HDFS, we are working with S3 and Spark. Okay. So
yeah.
if S3 size, one block size is, let us say, 10 MB. So you are saying for 10 MB, one partition will be created?
Mm, yeah, yeah, if we are reading from the AWS and that block size is 10 MB means, yeah, so one partition would be the 10. But I don't have idea. I can guess yeah, it should be 10.
Yeah. See, this is only example which I'm giving you. While my intention is, I'm asking you, let us say if number of blocks are high, but our resources are less, then there could be some performance issue, right? If block
Yeah,
sizes are high, then partition will be created more. When partition will be created more, automatically,
we
each
need more
partition we
cores,
should process it. So to process each partition, we require sufficient,
cores.
resources in the cluster. So it's all interdependent. Am I right?
Yeah,
It leads to performance increase or decrease also, depending upon the block size.
yeah.
This situation, does Spark cluster will take care or not?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I think a Spark, uh, yeah, driver would be take care of those things, I think.
So what is the difference between dataset and RDD?
So data set is nothing but the you can say the, yeah, RDD is resilient distributed data set, and that data set is nothing but the RDD along with the schema. So after that, there is 2-3 things which comes under the data set. The first one is it support the efficient memory utilization. Along with that, it support the catalytic optimizer. So these two things doesn't come under the RDD.
So what extra added into this catalyst optimizer?
Yeah, in case of data set, it's store the file format in the form of binary format, like in the form of you can say the tree, and so that the serialization and deserialization is good with the data set. But in data using RDD, it doesn't do it. Yeah, it doesn't do best for the RDD.
Are you aware about Spark stages and tasks?
Yeah, so if we submit any application, so if we are creating any Spark session, so the session would be the one application. So after application, the it create the it creates the job. So job is nothing but how many how many we are doing the action. So action would be the job. After that, it creates the stages. So our stages will depends upon the number of executor, or it mainly depends upon if is there any shuffle is happening or not. So in case of new shuffle, it creates the new stages, and after that, it's the task is nothing but the physical layout of the program which executor use.
Mhm. So what is the major difference between cache and persistence?
Yeah. So cache is nothing but the first option with the it persists with only memory. So in case of persist, we have different options like memory only serialized, memory and disk, and memory too. Like that, we have different set of API with persist. But in case of cache, only we have one which is indirectly persist with only memory.
So in persistence, we have two options, right? We can persist data on memory or on disk, right?
Yeah, data and disk, or like
So
memory and disk, or only disk?
yeah, our work will be completed with by using persistence. So why should we go for cache, which is
Yeah,
having
so
only one benefit?
it's depend upon the size of the RDD or data frame, like on what size we are doing the processing. So if our memory is like enough to store the whole data sets, then we can yeah, in that case we can use the on memory only. If like we are not able to store everything in the memories, and then in that case we can prefer memory and disk, like that we can do.
Yeah, yeah. In both the cases, persistence can able to serve our requirement, right?
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
why should we use cache? You're getting me right? What I'm asking?
yeah, yeah.
If our need is fulfilling by using Spark persistence, then why should we go for cache?
So I think cache, I think it's clear from the name, it store the data in cache, not in the memory. I don't know, like I am just guessing it. So that it can directly pick from the cache to main memory. That would be like good enough to optimize the performance.
Mhm. Are you aware about sliding window operations?
Yeah. Like I'm not aware of sliding window. It comes under like a Spark streaming, but like I heard somewhere like sliding window those things. But yeah, in like BTech, I have studied those sliding window protocol, those things. But here, like as far as I don't know, like how exactly it works.
Mhm. So, okay, coming to Hive, what is map side join in Hive?
Yeah, so map side join, like when we have like two data set, and one is very large in size and another is very small compared to the another data set. So in that case, we used to prefer map side join. So in that case, only mapper would run. So there is no need of like reducer, or there is no like happening the shuffle and sort phase. So that is like it's very fast compared to the normal join in Hive.
Can you can you please give me one syntax example?
Yeah, there is two way. One is like we can set the auto, like if we join the a small table size, so we can give like yeah, set Hive dot auto map join. We can give the like size of the a small table size. So in that case, if we join any join, it will take the map side join. Another is like explicitly we need to mention like select a star slash map join. Then we can like that would be the syntax, I think. Yeah.
Have you ever worked on Hive internal and external tables?
Yeah.
Can you please tell me the main difference between those?
Yeah. So Hive internal table or like managed table, that is like a schema and data. Both is managed by Hive. But in case of external table, only a schema is managed by Hive, and data is just still like it's on the under of HDFS control.
Acha. Can I
So if
able to
we
create Hive external table and store data other than HDFS?
mm, yeah, we can do. Yeah, the Hive external is nothing but the that we are creating only a schema, and that a schema is pointing to like any location, like either it is HDFS or local, like that.
Can I use Amazon S3 for storing my external table data?
I'm not sure, but we can use, because using Hive we are creating only a schema, and that a schema is like pointing to any location. So for that we need to set those like property like access key and secret key to like in like HDFS or somewhere.
So when we create a table where Hive, the metadata will be stored, table metadata will be stored.
Yeah, so there is two things. So Hive comes with default Derby database, and if we wanted to like remove that, and we can store in any like relational database. So either it is MySQL or SQL. So there it store the metadata of the schema.
So why Hive is depending on external storage? Uh, why not we store metadata of the tables in Hive itself?
Yeah, so Hive have option like a built-in option like Derby database, but that is only for like very small data size. So its size is very low. So that the mm, big size server is required to store the metadata. And along with that, internal, if we are using the Hive built-in Derby database, so only we can create only one Hive session. So and we can't create much user also to store the metadata like user and its access and file information, those things.
What is H catalog concept?
I'm not aware. Like I heard, but I'm not aware of that.
All right. So let us say I have one partition table. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And leave it about the columns and all. So if you want to load a data from a normal table to partition table, so first
Mhm.
of all, what are the configurations that we need to set?
Yeah, so there is two things. One is like I'm not getting the exact thing, but another is we need to do the non-stick something. And another is to choose that is hive set dot partition something. Yeah.
Can Hive used for OLTP applications?
Yeah, like it doesn't support update or like mm, yeah, update and insert. So we can't like yeah, it doesn't support those things like ACID property and all.
Do you aware safe mode in Hadoop?
Safe mode? No, I'm not aware.
So how can we handle if some files corrupted in HDFS? Will HDFS handle by its own, or externally we have to do something to retrieve those
No,
records?
HDF is only for the storage. We want like control those things. So we need to handle.
What fault tolerance will do if it won't correct, retrieve corrected data?
Yeah, so it depends upon the replication factor. If we have like 3, then it can take over all those things. It can take care of that thing.
Who will take care?
Yeah, that name node having all the information like it's like where is the 3 replicate stored. So name node will take care of those things.
Okay.
Yeah,
What is block scanner in Hadoop?
I don't know.
All right. So what is rack awareness in Hadoop?
Yeah, rack awareness like in a same yeah, they are stored the files in the form of rack, and rack are stored on the like data node. So in a single rack they are stored the one or like suppose we have one file and they are and replication factor is 3, say they are stored the one or two uh, two data block in the same rack, and the third block size in some other rack, so that like if the failure happen, at least we could find the some block in other rack. So this thing is the rack awareness.
So let us say I am submitting a Spark job, and I have some print statements in the. It is a PySpark code, and I have a print statements in that. So I am submitting the Spark job in a terminal or a Spark shell. So which mode would you use? Which deploy mode would you use, so that you can see the logs or the print statements for debugging?
Yeah, so like if we submit the local mode, so uh, yeah, if we submit the in local mode, so in terminal we can get the print statement, and along with that, if we are submitting using yarn mode also, like in a Spark server, we can see the like print statement.
I'm trying to ask is, so when I am submitting a Spark job, I want the print statements for debugging to be printed in the terminal so that I can see right there in the terminal.
Yeah.
So which mode would you use? Which deploy mode would you use?
Yeah, we can use local mode in that case.
What is local mode? What are the different deploy modes we have?
Yeah, we have deploy mode like cluster mode and client mode. Yeah, deploy mode is the like, client or cluster. There we have two options.
when we are running on the cluster.
So when the question I have asked, you have to submit the code. You have to give the deploy mode as client mode, so that whatever the output that you are getting from the driver, you will see that in the terminal, because the driver sits in the client side. So if you do do that using cluster mode, you will not be able to see the debug statements or the print statements, because the driver sits on the cluster. So yeah, that is the difference. Yeah.